next topic, and we're going to see this slide in almost every single session that we have here, is what are some of the key features or feature sets that you're seeing in the industry and kind of your respective corners of the industry that are specifically available now to help address this demand. And so we'll have Nick tee us up again on this.
It has to start with building electrification, or often called decarbonization. Simply put, we've run our buildings on gas and other fossil fuels for a long time, successfully, right? Really raised the standard of living in the West. But we're realizing the limits on continuing to run our economy on fossil fuels. And if you look at the best ways to reduce carbon emissions and the harmful impacts of climate change, you have to start with buildings. And just changing them off fossil fuels to electric technologies. So that's a heat pump water heater, an induction or electric cooktop, an electric or heat pump dryer. Doing those 4 things cuts the footprint of a new home in half in California. And it's going to do similar things elsewhere, depending on the stage of your grid cleaning itself up. So the trends I'm seeing are electrification of those end uses. And the 2022 California Energy Code takes effect January 1st, 2023. So it'll be in effect when you guys get together. And it's going to require solar on every new home. We've already been doing that for 3 years in California. But it's going to set as the standard a heat pump water heater in much of the state. In other parts of the state, it's going to set an HVAC heat pump as the standard. There's also provisions in our code that may be a sign of things to come elsewhere in the country to, if you do install a gas system, you have to have it easily retrofittable to a future electric model, future-proofing that house. So you add all those things up, and there's a strong incentive for the home builder to just not run gas to the lot at all and set it up all electric from the start. Not to mention the incentives available for doing so, both at the California level and the federal level through the IRA. So that's one strong trend I'm seeing and coming on strong. Like it's amazing how fast that has pivoted. Just 5 years ago, we treated gas and electricity interchangeably. And now recognizing that carbon emission difference, we're being more honest about the advantages of running homes on electricity. And then the other part we can talk more about later is the solar battery smart panel. But I think builders are starting to recognize that that's an attractive feature to offer buyers, to be able to say, not only can you reduce your utility bills through rooftop solar and reduce them further through having a battery that arbitrages the time of use rates. But when the grid goes down, and it does go down, whether you're in Texas or California or elsewhere, your home just immediately switches over to running as an island, and your neighbors can bring over the food that's going to spoil in their fridge and freezer and cook it on your propane barbecue or your induction cooktop even, charge their phones. Your home can serve as that resiliency hub in your neighborhood. That's incredibly compelling to home buyers, and home buyers of all stripes, not just liberal ones.
So before I get feedback from you, I'm curious in this room, how many of you are building in California? Okay, so 2. All right, so for the rest of you, are any of you doing all electric homes right now? We got 1. 2. The rest of you are probably thinking, really? So what's the response here? What do you guys, how would you add? What other key feature sets, or do you want to elaborate on what he had to say?
Well, I mean, the electrification, we're definitely seeing it in certain localities where they're taking gas out of the equation, so that would certainly affect the builders in those communities. Yeah, we've made a switch on the electric ranges that we offer at Samsung, really focusing on the induction cooktops as part of that trend. So yeah, we've started to adapt to it as well. And in terms of where we started looking at the value of SmartThings Energy, it was on energy on electricity first, right? We will incorporate things like monitoring gas consumption and things like that, but I think obviously we're all starting to see this trend and we're just trying to get out ahead of it.
So again, with the audience here, how many of you who aren't building all electric, but it's on your roadmap that you're starting to think about it? Okay, so not convinced here. Okay, continue.
Sure. With the water heating technology, the heat pump water heater is front and center right now, and for a few reasons. One, the number one reason is the efficiency. It's 3 and 4 times more efficient than any other water heating type product in the market. So that's the number one. You're going to save your homeowners energy bills. The second part of it is the being part of a bigger system than just itself. Most people don't think of their water heater until they don't have enough hot water or there's water on the floor and it's something they have to replace. But now, as Nick mentioned, it's becoming heat pump water heaters are becoming part of community microgrid systems. They're becoming part of utilities grid systems. Now that we have communications and smart controls, it can be a part of the whole ecosystem of the grid. So I think that's exciting. It's still on the very much on the adoption curve up front. It's still a small part of the market, but as the codes are looking further and further at this, at decarbonization, it's going to be an important part of that household. And that's what consumers want. They don't want just a high efficiency appliance. More and more are wanting to be a part of something bigger than that and have a plan for a backup, right?
Anything you'd add?
Nick talks about so many things that I would have also said, so I don't want to repeat a bunch of things he says, and obviously, because he works on the code that we live off of. But one thing I will say is California, he talks about California a lot, is all the things California, there is this mass exodus in California, that when people are leaving that state, what we're finding a lot, especially as we talk to home builders, is the guy leaving California that's ready to buy the next house in whatever state he moved to, and then he sees the things that California has adopted, and then instantly in his brain is, I know what that is, and that's what I want. So you see solar on a home, you see batteries on a home, you see all these electrifying smart technologies that California is having people put into the homes as they build them right now, or even that they're retro fitting into their homes. As they leave that state, those are the things that they look for when they buy a house. So that's just one kind of thought I had as he's talking about the code in California, what's happening is that, and also it's a mirror country, so utilities are going to start doing a lot of the same things, or governments in states and local municipalities will start mirroring a lot of the things that you see in California right now if they're working. So those are just kind of food for thought things I would say. Other than that, Nick talks about a lot of really important things, and the monitoring, specifically the technology that's going in there as you electrify your home, is the homeowner can now also monitor everything that's going on. And that's such a huge thing to think about, is nerding out on your house, right? Like understanding what's going on as you use things. I always remember, especially in this industry, the one thing I always think of is I couldn't leave a room as a kid without my mom yelling at me to turn off a light and whatever, right? Or not leave the door open, we're not heating the outside. We've all heard all the things. But this technology helps every household just be able to instantly turn off lights or turn on lights or whatever it is, and monitor it as well. So a lot of things that I would say that as the synergies, as I'm learning out with everyone, what everyone's saying up here is things like that for your guys' bottom line probably should really help out.
I wanted to piggyback off that a little bit because we talk a lot about systems and the efficiency of your HVAC unit, your water heater, and super important.
Got some pictures of his water heaters here. So
yeah, exactly. Look at that beautiful thing. The thing that we're not talking about is user behavior, right? So, you can set up a smart thermostat for somebody and they use it in a dumb way, right? And maybe it's because it takes too much time, maybe it's too complex. What our goal here is at SmartThings when it comes to energy management is simplifying it and automating it, right? So making it really clear to people exactly how much energy you're using, where you're using. Like if you go to the next version of that. We've got the ability to break down energy use by system in your home, right? And if you go to the next one, you can actually see that on a monthly, weekly, daily basis, even hourly, and it's converted into dollars for you. So the first stage of these sort of features in the software side are just to make people aware of where it is that they spend that energy and when, so that you can investigate in your own life just to kind of improve that. But as we get into the second and third stages where we are now, we're talking about automating it and connecting it to the utility so that the utility pays you to save that energy. And I think that's where it's going to really mainstream this technology, is when people are actually getting paid rebates on their energy bill to save at certain times, certain parts of the day where peak demand is the highest. You get the idea. So I think user behavior and taking that out of the equation through automation is a super important part of getting to the next level with energy saving.
Okay, well, it's clear from the audience here that at least this move to decarbonize and go all electric, not convinced yet as builders that this is what their customers want. So as we start looking at what are some of the challenges, starting right here, anyone want to share why that's not on your roadmap right now? Just the belief customers don't want it, or yes, nice and loud. Oh, we're going to bring a microphone over here so we can make sure we get this on the recording. Sorry, I just put Katie on notice. I'm over here on this table.
At a minimum, my customers want gas to cook with.
Gas to cook, and that's fair.
And just a range.
Okay, that makes sense.
Looks totally different.
Top of the range, maybe even a barbecue out back.
Yep.
Okay.
I can go down to that pretty easily.
Others feel that's kind of the same thing, kind of one of the primary thing. Raise your hand if that's something that's pushing. Okay. Anyone else want to add to that? Yeah.
Certain local governments in different parts of the world have now totally banned gas ranges. Paris, France is a good example of that. They're illegal there.
Yeah.
And they've gone all induction. Do you see that trend coming to the United States?
I mean, it's happening in California. I mean, what is it here in Washington that just made what's that?
Yeah, in July 2023, I think all the heating and air as well as the water heating has to be heat pump technology. But there
Has to be electric.
40 to 50 probably communities have already passed legislation to ban natural gas appliances. So yeah, there's definitely a movement in that area across the U.S.
It's happening, and I think, I don't know what everyone's communities are looking like, but I know in Kansas, and this is what Nick was saying, is it's happening fast. You know, I always thought, you know, for my dryer, you know, gas is going to be the cheaper, and now, like going into this winter, you know, they're forecasting our natural gas prices to go up 4 times from what they were last winter. So that's going to change a lot of behavior and what is wanted. Brian?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just going to say, so we only build electric. We will not even put gas in. People can ask, and if they do, then they can do that on their own.
And you're in California.
I'm in California,
Yep.
but we build across the nation. So we've got factories from California.
But is that
to
your standard outside of California as well? So we build, we don't do it unless you...
Correct. And if
Okay.
they want gas, they can do that on their own. Because a little bit is because of that reason, is that, you know, it's getting banned everywhere. They're not, you know, it's not going to be available. Me personally, I love my cast iron. I need flame. So, you know, I build these things, but, you know, if I was building, I'd be irritated because I love my cast iron. I like cooking with it. But that's really the only reason I like it. But we, you know, for the advantages, and maybe for some builders that aren't maybe totally seeing all the trees in the forest right now, we're in a situation where, you know, like we build from the inside out. So our houses run on batteries. They're built to run on batteries. We don't have a breaker over 30 amp. Our factory that builds our houses, because we're a modular builder, isn't even connected to the grid. And that factory runs on battery. So
We're going to hear more from Ryan later this week as well.
yeah, so it's real. Like, I think a lot of the times people are just going, we're just not ready. This ain't the Jetsons. It's here. It's already
coming.
happening. We're doing it.